The crystalline spires of Zarthenia gleamed under three purple suns as Queen Xylara stood before the Celestial Council, her iridescent scales shimmering with barely contained fury. Her 7 counselors exchanged worried glances, their chitinous exoskeletons clicking nervously. "A human?" Elder Krethzar hissed, his compound eyes reflecting disbelief. "Your Majesty, surely you jest. They are barely a Type 1 civilization. Their technology is primitive, their lifespan laughable." Xylara's tail swept across the marble floor, a gesture of absolute authority. She was 17 feet of raw power, her species having conquered 47 star systems through a combination of psionic abilities and bioengineered warfare. Yet here she stood, defending her choice of mate. "Dr. Marcus Chen possesses something our empire lacks," she declared, her voice resonating through the chamber. "Innovation, adaptability, the human capacity for lateral thinking." The marriage had been strategic, or so she told herself. Earth had recently made contact with the Galactic Federation, and the Zarthenian Empire needed a foothold in that sector. Marcus, a xenobiologist who had spent 5 years studying her people, seemed the perfect candidate, intelligent, respectful, and utterly non-threatening. What Xylara hadn't anticipated was genuine affection. 3 months into their union, Marcus had converted an entire wing of the royal palace into his laboratory. The queen would often find him there at ungodly hours, his fingers dancing across holographic displays as he muttered equations in that peculiar Earth language called mathematics. He never asked for military secrets or political power. He simply wanted to understand. "Your Majesty," Marcus had said one evening, his brown eyes alight with excitement, "I've been analyzing your species' psionic network. The bioelectrical signatures suggest you're not actually telepathic. You're tapping into quantum entanglement at the molecular level." Xylara had found his enthusiasm endearing, even if she barely understood half of what he said. Then came the night everything changed. The Krell Dominion, ancient enemies of Zarthenia, chose the royal wedding celebration to launch their assault. Their dreadnoughts materialized from hyperspace, weapons charged, shields impenetrable. The Krell had been preparing for this moment for decades, developing technology specifically designed to counter Zarthenian psionics. Alarms shrieked through the palace. Xylara's guards rushed to defensive positions as the first wave of kinetic bombardment struck the planetary shields. The Queen extended her consciousness, reaching out to her fleet commanders, coordinating the defense through the psionic network that connected all Zarthenian military personnel. "They've adapted," Admiral Vex Torn reported, his mental voice strained. "Our psionic attacks slide off their ships. The dampening field they've deployed is unlike anything we've encountered." Marcus appeared at Xylara's side, his hair disheveled, still wearing his laboratory coat. "I need access to your military network. Now." "Marcus, you must evacuate." "Xylara, trust me. Please." Something in his voice, a certainty, a depth she'd never heard before, made her pause. She pressed her clawed hand to his temple, establishing the neural link that would grant him access to their military infrastructure. What happened next would be debated by xenohistorians for centuries. Marcus's consciousness exploded through the Zarthenian network like a supernova. Where Xylara and her people used the quantum entanglement naturally, limited by biology and instinct, Marcus approached it as an engineer approaches a machine. His human brain, evolved for tool-making and pattern recognition, saw the network not as an organic system, but as code to be rewritten. In 17 seconds, he identified the vulnerability in the Krell dampening field, a harmonic frequency that their generators couldn't compensate for because it required computing power beyond anything the Krell considered necessary. It was inefficient, wasteful, the kind of brute force solution no properly evolved psionic species would ever conceive. It was perfectly human. "All ships, Marcus's voice echoed through every Zarthenian mind simultaneously, a feat that should have been impossible for a non-native. Recalibrate psionic emitters to frequency 847.3 petahertz. Channel through me. Admiral Vextorn hesitated. The power required would kill. Do it. Zylara felt it then, the true depth of what Marcus had been hiding, not through deception, but because he himself hadn't known. Humanity's gift wasn't physical strength or natural weapons. It was their brain's neuroplasticity, their ability to adapt and interface with systems they hadn't evolved for. Where Zarthenians were born into their psionic network, Marcus had learned it, understood it at a fundamental level they never could because they'd never needed to. He was a bridge between biological intuition and mechanical precision. The combined psionic might of the Zarthenian fleet channeled through Marcus's consciousness, amplified by his human brain's unique architecture, and struck the Krell dampening field. The energy should have torn him apart. Instead, his neurons, firing in patterns no Zarthenian could replicate, distributed the load across quantum probability states, essentially becoming temporarily non-corporeal. The Krell shields collapsed in cascading failure. When Marcus opened his eyes, blood dripped from his nose and his hands trembled violently. The Krell fleet was in full retreat, their centuries of planning undone in minutes by a species they'd dismissed as irrelevant. Zylara caught him as he collapsed, cradling his comparatively tiny form against her chest. "You absolute fool," she whispered, her scales shifting to colors that denoted deep affection in her species. "You could have died." Marcus managed a weak smile. "I ran the calculations. 93% survival probability. Pretty good odds. That means 7% chance of death." "Yeah, but I had to protect my wife." His eyes drifted closed. "Besides, I wanted to see if my theory about human Zarthenian neural compatibility was correct. Turns out we're more compatible than either species realized." In the following weeks, as Marcus recovered and the implications of his actions rippled through the Galactic Federation, Zylara made a discovery that terrified every other spacefaring species. Humans weren't just adaptable, they were universal adapters. Their brains could learn to interface with any sufficiently complex system. Not as well as native users in most cases, but in ways native users couldn't conceive. The ordinary human she'd married was a harbinger of humanity's true potential, a species that would never be the strongest, fastest, or most powerful, but one that could bridge gaps, find solutions, and adapt to challenges in ways the galaxy had never seen. As Marcus returned to his laboratory, already sketching plans for improved psionic technological hybrids, Zylara realized she hadn't married him for strategy at all. She'd married the most dangerous mind in the galaxy, and she couldn't have been more proud.